The rank system is actually broken. Most masters know this and don't actually have the skill to get to that rank, yet they still somehow manage to. So today I'm gonna show you how they do it. The first step to understanding this is understanding the system. Namely that Apex Legends' ranked is designed as a progression-based system. We know this because every player starts in Rookie and advance through the ranks to reach Predator by amassing points. We also know that your ranks will reset slightly at the end of the season to keep you churning out games. The system could have started you in the middle of the pack and have you rank up or down accordingly, but they seem to have opted to go with this design to keep you interested for longer instead. We also know that Apex is a progression system because the technical director Sammy Duck, and I probably got the name wrong, admitted as much in a Twitter post talking about SBMM, saying that a progression-based system is necessary for the player to feel a sense of achievement, and if your rank was a true one-to-one metric, it would very slowly change over time, meaning you wouldn't get the same immediate sense of achievement or dopamine to keep you hooked and playing Apex. A progression system implies that we should continue gaining rank by playing the game even if there's a huge skill obstacle. And this shouldn't come as a surprise, as it's common knowledge that you can get through the lower ranks to platinum without much serious effort. All you need is a safe drop, maybe a kill point or two, and then you'll gain RP and climb slowly every game. Sure, it might just be plus 10 or plus 50 RP, but it adds up throughout enough games played. We know this because there's been some insanely dedicated ranked grinders who have grinded to platinum without getting a kill, using only their melee, or hell, even only grenades. The strategy includes simply offsetting the risk of battle royale, coupled with abusing the aggressive lobbies to their own favor to rack up easy placement points instead. So yeah, there's hope for you to gain RP even if you can't land a shot to save your life. You can abuse the rank system to almost any rank in the game, except maybe Apex Predator, as this is an ever-moving goalpost with a limited amount of 750 spots, and generally speaking, anyone who consistently grinds for Apex Predator needs to be able to get to Master without abusing the kinks in the system. The top Predators either roll entire lobbies or more likely abuse the following strategies to maximize their RP gains per day. They triple stack. Having new random teammates every game will fundamentally lower your chances of consistently gaining RP, as the outcome of every game not only features the randomness that comes with a battle royale, but also the randomness of getting capable and, most importantly, like-minded teammates as well. Because you can actually get equally or even higher skilled teammates, but if they don't play for consistent RP gains, you'll still end up getting into the net negative. They play a lot. As I mentioned at the start of the video, Apex Ranked is a progression-based system, meaning if you get points on the board consistently, you can climb a pretty significant amount. The lower your RP gain is per game, the more games and time you need to spend on reaching your goals. So if you only gain a small net positive of say 50 points per game, assuming a game takes 15 minutes on average, a 12-hour play session might get you around 2,400 RP. They combine the longer games with the high percentage plays. In order to gain a consistent amount of points, especially when the lobbies get sweaty, you need to play the numbers. I can't go too in depth on this, but think of it like this. If a team is holding the god spot, they can win them the game. You can either choose to push them and take a 3v3 from a disadvantageous position with a high risk of getting third party, with let's say a 20% success rate. If you get that squad wipe and you don't get third partied, you've turned that 20% chance decision into what could end up being a win and a lot more points than those measly 50 that you would get by playing safe. But if you recognize that a good position is taken and instead choose to take a nearby position, not nearly as good as the god spot, you can play that position. You can look for poke kills and gradually increase your own RP gain. This will be considered the 90% chance decision. Obviously not to win, but the risk is minimal as very few things can go wrong. There's also a chance that some other team will push for the god spot and give you an opening to get the final third party that wins you the game. Most of the time, you're gonna get a decent amount of points and you might end up dying from a positional disadvantage in the end game. But again, we're looking at the points gained in a whole play session, not just a few games. Another example of this is avoiding contests. Now this part is up for debate, as yes, you have a higher risk of losing off rip if you take a contest, and there's a large risk of you getting third partied from contesting on drop, but it's generally an isolated fight which will give you some kill points that will help you out later in the game. If you suppose that you have a solid stack and that you can rely on your skills, it might be worth it to take an isolated contest at the edge of the map, but if you want to take the 90% decision, never go for contests head on. And if anything, look for other teams that are contesting each other so you can be the third party and get them early instead. They also understand the lobbies they are in and adjust accordingly. Depending on the time of day, rank, region, and more, the lobbies can either be super aggressive and punishing or extremely passive. If you're in a passive lobby, you benefit from either rotating extremely early and taking a position, or by playing aggressively, though keep in mind playing aggressive will always introduce a lot more risk. They understand that while fighting is a good way to get loot, positioning, but most importantly those juicy kill points that lead to RP, they can also gain an advantage with excessive crafting and looting. Unlike in competitive Apex, most points of interest are either poorly looted or not touched at all, and you're able to stack yourself up without ever having to fire a shot to prepare for the end game and still end up with a better chance to win. They also play Seer, because Seer is broken. And I'm not gonna lie to you, on an individual level, playing like this, it's not fun. It's just not. The game is reduced to numbers and the result matters more than actually playing and enjoying the game. But it's incredibly effective as long as you and your teammates stay disciplined. At many points during a game, you might feel the itch to go for some fights, do some risky rotations or whatever. If gaining RP is your goal, don't. Instead, go for some improv karaoke, practice your movement while waiting for the zone to close. Because many players set out to go for this specific strategy, but they always throw the plan to the wind the second they start getting bored. Since most players lack the discipline or forethought when taking their fights, you generally will see great results the more reserved you play. Some rank grinders infamously stopped playing positioning and instead started triple ratting in buildings to trap anyone who would walk in. It's a great cheese strat as the fights are decided in an instant and the risk of getting third-partied is amazingly low. Obviously, the strategy is a lot less viable with the Seer meta, but we will still see it being abused more often than you'd expect. We can gather from these strategies that ranked doesn't necessarily reward the best players who play fast and loose, but instead seems to reward the players that are taking the safe and consistent approach, however boring it may be. Seeing streamers and content creators falling back to these strategies is very rare, as it is incredibly poor content, and who wants to watch a dude sit in a building for several hours a day? Like, let's be honest. But non-streaming, high-ranked predators have been applying these strategies forever, and it is incredibly successful, because ranked only cares about the points that you make, even if it's very little points per game spread out over the course of a very long play session. If you want to be the ones who plays fast, loose, and reckless, you'll need to be able to pull off about 20 squad kill games every 5 or so games. If you can't perform that well, you will end up losing RP over a period of time. So instead of going for the big kill games, you want to get a few kill points early and play position for the optimal points gain. And what's funny is, once you realize the strategy for playing for RP, and you might start abusing it yourself, you will see it everywhere. The average player will use these boring strategies just to get points on the board, to survive in public matches, despite nothing being at stake. They'll give up their own enjoyment in the short term just so they can have a win or a few kills to their name. That is in part because of SBMM as we know it completely screwed up and puts the average player in a pinch whenever it comes to casual play. So if you think that's interesting, make sure to check out the video on the screen if you want to learn more about Apex's skill-based matchmaking. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.